Avengers Infinity War was directed by the Russo brothers and written by Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus, and is loosely based off of the early 1990s Infinity Gauntlet saga written by Thanos creator Jim Starlin. Avengers Infinity War is a fun romp with serious undertones that takes place through time, space, and reality. But it is flawed in a lot of places, resulting in a underwhelming feeling leaving the theater. But you guys know the drill. Let's get into the positives first. I felt that the film was a good adaptation for what they had already established within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although I would have loved to see Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock, I know that the Surfer's role was impossible to accomplish in this film due to the Disney and Fox deal not going through yet, and Adam not being fully introduced despite his tease in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Using the Hulk as the go-between the two teams was a good idea as it enabled the writers to get both the cosmic and Earth settings connected with a character that not only had experiences in both places, but needed to have a more important role other than smashing things, thus making a good substitute for Silver Surfer, and hopefully Warlock's role within the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline will be explored next year. Visually, the film is amazing, as it must have been a challenge to create not only multiple worlds, but creating visuals that needed to transition from a planet's past to its present, changes to the characters and audience's reality within scenes, and a whole variety of other effects that I haven't seen done in film before. In one scene alone, Thanos changes the reality of not only the setting, but how some characters are physically shaped or misshaped for that matter. In addition, the majority of the CGI characters, like the members of the Black Order, looked especially convincing as real characters, unlike other motion capture performances in the past. In addition, while Infinity War had some of the best visual effects, it also had some of the best action a superhero movie has had in a long time. The best performances in this film came from Josh Brolin as Thanos, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, and Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Josh Brolin is probably the best villain, if not one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date. And while I had issues about the character's motivation as to why he was searching for the Infinity Stones to complete the Infinity Gauntlet, which I will get into later, I felt that his performance was impactful as it brought the character to life on the silver screen. The choices Brolin made for his character were great, as he not only represented the depiction of a man fully convinced that his reasons to achieve his goal were just and good for the galaxy to thrive again, but he also had great chemistry with Zoe Saldana as Gamora, his daughter, where we are finally seeing how their relationship was formed and how it developed into one full of raw emotion leading to the eventual result we see in the film.
Gamora, soldier, assassin, wanted on over a dozen counts of murder.
Zoe Saldana as Gamora was brilliant, as she made this character that was for the most part one-dimensional into this complex and fully emotional character with a great story arc going from a trusting little girl who Thanos shielded from the genocide of her own people to a hard woman convinced of Thanos' galactic genocidal crusade after his favorable but stern treatment, leading up to her eventual hatred but still caring attitude that she displays in this film. Despite all of the death and destruction Thanos has brought into the galaxy, Gamora still sees his caring side and the hurt that Thanos went through to come to this belief about the balancing of the galaxy, taking the audience on a personal journey despite having other members of the cast having the same level of hatred for what Thanos did to their own people. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord reacted to the complex relationship that Gamora and Thanos has with compassion and empathetic sorrow as he witnesses the pain that Gamora has gone through, which eventually led to her initial betrayal of Thanos and why she so strongly believes they need to stop the Mad Titan's unholy quest. While at times the writers still need to stuff in their jokes, Pratt's character hits the audience where it counts on an emotional level throughout the film. Tom Holland's performance as Peter Parker, and mostly his parts where he is Peter Parker, are deeply emotional, as he sees Tony Stark as a father figure and someone that he looks up to. Within his performance, he has subtle hints where he doesn't care that he's Spider-Man. All he truly cares about and craves is Tony's approval and guidance, especially in his last scene. Out of the new supporting characters, I thought Tom Von Lawler was quite the scene stealer as Ebony Maw with his eloquent and confident dialogue. He was by far the best of Thanos' Black Order. I'm getting into spoiler territory now, so if you haven't seen the film, Click away, come back to this video later. I think by far the best thing about Avengers Infinity War is that the Avengers didn't win in the end. And by not doing so, it doesn't give the audience the satisfaction, at least for now. You comic book readers know exactly what I'm talking about.
Just like that.
The way in which they are leading up to next year's movie excites me far more than what I got to see in this movie. If you read the comics like I did, you knew that half of each team in the galaxy was going to go out eventually. The subversive nature of allowing the audience to believe that the Avengers actually had a chance of defeating Thanos, despite his grasp on the celestial elements of the universe, was great, as most of the audience that goes to see these films are experience one outcome: victory. By not giving them this victory and killing off the newer favorite characters like Star-Lord, Spider-Man, and Black Panther, characters that people are super invested in, it holds the audience in an infinity gauntlet-like vice, where they need to know what's going on, what's going to happen next, despite the long wait we'll have to endure for another year. Unfortunately, Avengers Infinity War does have its flaws, and there are quite a few. They include the film's tone, its focus on certain characters, and Thanos' motivation. The tone of the film was up in the air throughout the whole film, where it went from being a comedy 1 minute and it turned into a serious, mind-bending, ever-fluid mind reality changer the next. I understand that the Marvel films started this trend of having pop culture-based snarky comedy, and that they want to continue this, as it is often what attracts people to the movies, but you don't need to bring that trademark in almost every single scene. This leads to the audience not only anticipating a laugh, but it also leads to missed dialogue and an unruly audience that doesn't know the difference between a serious tone in scenes and a comedic one. There was way too much of a focus on Vision and Scarlet Witch. I understand that they needed a way to incorporate the Mind Stone somehow, and that they wanted to try to give Vision some humanity so the audience could relate to him, making him a more interesting character, but I don't think it really worked. The way in which they tied these two characters together really felt forced and a little strange that everyone was so accepting of a robot dating a human. In previous films, there was little to almost no focus on these characters, and while yes, we had a small hint of them warming up to each other in Civil War, in that situation it felt like Scarlet Witch was more of a prisoner, rather than someone wanting to be with a cyborg in a mansion. I felt that they made them more important just to supply the audience with a bigger reaction to what happens to them in the end of the movie, making more of an impact on characters that most people don't usually flock to. While Thanos is just as sinister and conniving as he is in the series that made him this epitome of Marvel villains, his motivation in the film didn't have the same impact as it did in the comics. In Infinity War, Thanos believes that the galaxy needs to be balanced due to overpopulation, whereas in the original Infinity Gauntlet series, Thanos is infatuated with not only the idea of death, but with a physical representation of death, and tries to woo her by obtaining the Infinity Stones to make the universe fall to her bidding. I think Thanos' love or infatuation makes him more of a human figure, leading to a more complicated and empathetic figure, where you can understand why he does the things he does, and while yes, they are twisted, it gives a deeper meaning than saying the universe needs to be balanced just because I said so. How does Thanos know that? He doesn't seem as mad as he is if he just believes that the galaxy's overpopulated. While not on a galactic scale, there have been people that have said we need another plague or something like along those lines. And while they might not have acted on it like Thanos has, it's more common than having this driving emotion to constantly please a physical representation that actually might not be there, hence the moniker, the Mad Titan, of death, rather than believing with no proof that half the galaxy needs to be destroyed. Avengers Infinity War. It oftentimes is a fun battle between good and evil, just like the comic book films that we know and love today and have in the past. But it isn't just that. It fully encompasses what we love about graphic novels in that it doesn't just have striking visuals and action, but it has the emotionally raw core that those more adult-themed graphic novels have, especially those full of intense ideas such as nihilism and death that brought people to the original series by Jim Starlin. However, it isn't without flaws and should probably be seen more than once to have a full grasp of the story. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about Avengers Infinity War in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth reviews and follow me on Stardust to see my first reactions to films and my Instagram to keep updated on what movie I'll be seeing next. Thanks again.